Hello and welcome. I'm your host, Wemlu. This is the Raptors Reaction Podcast presented by Betway for all your sports betting activities. Hit the QR code that you see here on the screen or the link that you see through the description of this episode. Raptors get absolutely destroyed. It was no contest from the very beginning through the very end. Raptors lose 129 to 92 against the Oklahoma City Thunder. And of course, I understand that these are two teams in wildly different circumstances at the moment, two teams that are not in the same class, but damn, it's the Raptors have actually been pretty competitive at home. It's not like the first time the Raptors have seen a really good team here. You saw Denver here in Toronto, for example. Raptors led for a lot of that one. This was actually a little bit reminiscent of the Laker game. The Lakers started the season really strongly. They've been pretty terrible since, but that game, the Lakers also came in, but the Raptors fought back and they made it like a 2 possession game towards the end. This game was never close. Raptors just getting their ass beat up and down the court from start to finish. So, yeah, it was a tough one, man. It was a really tough one. It was fun to be in attendance for, only for the fact that I felt like royalty was in town when Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's in town, when Lou Dort's in town. OKC's got a lot of Toronto roots. Shouts to Isaiah Joe as well. He certainly was showing out for some friends and family in the stands too. But like, man, it was a good atmosphere. It was great to network and it was great to see a lot of people that you don't typically see on a daily basis. But yeah, wow, that game though, that game was no contest from start to finish. I appreciate that people are still here. Some people are still here tuning in after a blowout loss like this. Clearly, we're not going to dwell on the game too long. I'll cover a couple of things, but more than anything else, it was just, if you want the too long didn't read version or like the TLDR for podcasting, it is just they were in two entirely different classes. It felt like the Raptors were getting bullied by another team. Like, I almost actively felt bad for them at times. You could almost see them trembling. They couldn't make basic passes. They were unable to cope with OKC's physicality. When they tried to take it strong going inside early on, they got blocked over and over again. And of course, whatever they did defensively, none of it was particularly coordinated on the Raptors' part. But whether it was guarding in transition, which the OKC Thunder, because of how often they got stops, were able to get easy transition looks all the time. But then, of course, when the Raptors actually did get into a half-court scenario where they're trying to guard OKC, then it was just give the ball to Shai, let him do whatever he wants. Yeah, Shai's just like out there practicing. The thing is, like, he can get whatever mid-range shot, he can go to the rim, get and ones, whatever he wants. This guy's just out there practicing his pull-up three game. Just like, you know what? Let me just see how it goes. You know what I mean? It's like, we know we're gonna win. We know I'm too good. We know I can get a bucket whenever the game needs to be serious. Let me just try out my pull-up three game. And honestly, that's probably still a bit of a work in progress for Shai. But the fact that he was so good that he could just toy with the team and practice in the middle of a game, I mean, that's next level. And of course, like the rest of the guys, Jalen Williams doing a great job. Lou Dort, these guys fighting their tails off defensively. It was kind of frightening seeing, especially in person, just how long and athletic these guys were, and also how aggressive. They're strong. It was a double team anytime the Raptors drove it into the lane. They switched a lot. They coordinated really well on those switches. Very few sort of miscommunications. Toronto was sort of able to shoot from three, but realistically, they knew that Toronto's three-point shooting is not particularly strong. They don't really want to shoot that many threes. Even with Gradey Dick coming back into the lineup, that really didn't make any difference. And, when they needed to, they pivoted to different defenses. You saw zone defenses from OKC and much more aggressive zone than what Miami was doing. So, yeah, just in general, two entirely different sports out there. It felt like, honestly, it felt like the other the last athletic event that I saw was this lopsided. Was kind of Jake Paul versus like Mike Tyson. And unfortunately, Raptors were Mike Tyson in this situation. A former champion that just right now was able to throw 7 punches in 2 minutes, which yeah, it was tough to watch in person. I'm not gonna lie to you. So a couple of things with this game. Obviously, you chuck it. Like, this is one of those games where it's like the Raptors didn't have it, and they were, even if they did have it, the result probably wasn't any different. A couple things to note. Number one, Gradey Dick did come back into the lineup, which is great. He's been out for the last 2 weeks here with the calf issue. He was able to come back into the lineup. The Raptors changed off, obviously, their starting lineup. That bumped Jacoby Walter back to the second unit, and Gradey was able to take back his starting spot, obviously. And of course, the other surprise was that Jakob Poeltl was listed as ill, and he was questionable coming into this game. But of course, it's like when a guy gets listed as ill all of a sudden and he's questionable, he's almost always going to be out for that night's game. And so Jakob wasn't around, didn't even see him in the building. So hopefully you get well soon, Jakob. But yeah, Jakob wasn't available to play. Unfortunately for the Raptors, they still had to contend with the size of Isaiah Hartenstein. So Darko made the call to start Bruno Fernando, who has barely played the last couple of games here, mostly because of Jakob's emergence, but also because of Jonathan Mogbo's emergence and Scottie Barnes' return. You're just not seeing Bruno on a daily basis. He jumps from not playing to into the starting lineup. Very similar, I suppose, to when Jakob missed a game here or there. Actually, didn't he miss a game yet? I feel like this might be the first game Jakob. Never mind. But like in any case, Bruno just jumps right into the starting lineup. It was kind of like just seeing him thrown to the wolves. How quickly OKC was all over him and able to help off of him. I don't think it was the right decision, and I don't think Darko thought it was the right decision in hindsight, because he actually ended up changing his starting lineup, going with Jonathan Mogbo to start the second half rather than Bruno Fernando, who didn't play that much in the second half. So you got Gradey in the starting lineup. You got Fernando. Of course, that changes a lot for you. Jakob certainly is somebody who can bring a sense of presence, of calm. Certainly someone who can screen, create some space. I mean, at the same time, I did see a lot of this response of like the sentiment of, you know what, this is the importance of Jakob Poeltl. You don't have Jakob in the lineup. This is what it looks like. No. Let's not confuse what this was. With Jakob, this result would have been exactly the same. I promise you. It was not the difference of Jakob Poeltl was 30 points in a game. That's the difference between the Raptors and OKC tonight, two entirely different classes. But I think that to whatever degree you want to talk about sort of the way Jakob would have screened or rolled or whatever, that might have changed maybe 5 to 10 points out of this game. Bruno wasn't particularly good, and obviously that's sort of been a struggle all season. That's normal. He's your 15th man. He's a guy who's here to be your spare big man if anybody goes down with injury. But still, OKC played they were so aggressive. Anytime Scottie, anytime RJ got a chance to try to drive downhill, they were met by 2-3 bodies. They were super physical as well. Usually you see RJ and Scottie physically bullying the opponent. Just look at the last game that they played against Indiana. Those two guys combining for how much they had? They almost had like 55 points, something like that, almost 60 points. But like they're touching the paint, they're getting to their spots. Even when it was size mismatches like RJ against like Miles Turner, he was still taking them to the basket and finishing strong. This game, even OKC's smallest guards are still super physical, getting into you, bumping you, and knowing sort of what they can get away with, knowing how they're able to help each other. It was just no contest. And of course, yes, it doesn't help that, guys were helping off of Bruno Fernando, or guys are helping off of pretty much whoever. But the Raptors offensively just didn't look, I wouldn't say they looked bad in the sense that like, they were doing the wrong thing. Like, they just couldn't do, period. They couldn't get off the blocks. They were just like simple passes. They were getting disrupted. And then they started sort of being afraid to sort of make specific plays. And, at the start of the game, Gradey, who's been super involved all season, obviously come back in the lineup here post-injury, was looking to be aggressive, but the Raptors missed him on several cuts. And, I would love to see obviously more out of that from Gradey in the future in terms of how involved he was. But in the start of the game, he wasn't that particularly involved. I felt like the Raptors missed him on a couple of cuts and passes. That's something that, of course, the Raptors need to correct, because no matter what, no matter who's in the lineup, Gradey Dick, when he's open, when he's even got a head of transition, where he's got a little bit of a step on his man, the pass should go to him. Gradey is certainly a player who can create a lot of offense for this team. And even in a game where, everybody looked really slow, everyone looked really overwhelmed, Gradey was actually one of the few guys who actually shot the ball efficiently, right? Gradey goes 5 of 9 tonight in 23 minutes, 4 of 8 from 3. Of course, in a game where, again, like they're collapsing and shrinking the floor, certainly you're going to need your defense here. But like at the same time, certainly you're going to need your 3-point shooters. But at the same time, Gradey, I thought, actually acquitted himself quite well and was, somewhat of a tough shot maker in a game where very little for the Raptors was being made. So Over the course of the game, I thought they corrected, they got Gradey into better spots. But again, credit OKC. Those guys did a really good job. Isaiah Joe, as another movement shooter, kind of like Gradey Dick himself, was able to sort of mirror Grady's movement, bump him off of certain spots, bump him off of catches, disrupt a lot of the actions that he wanted to get into. And other than Isaiah Joe was just super aggressive. Again, like you could certainly tell that there were friends and family in the crowd for him. But like yeah, it was just it was a massacre. It was just a massacre. Raptors bringing in their second unit. OKC brings in like their I feel like their third guy off the bench was Alex Caruso. Like, how is that possible? Your third guy off the bench is Alex Caruso? Like, Caruso would fully start for the Raptors. But yeah, then they started playing zone. Then it was like, man, okay, fine. The Raptors, I thought honestly at first I was like, okay, Raptors have done well against zone. And we just saw them play 2 games against Miami. I thought both times they did well against Miami zone. Man, OKC zone, like it was crazy. It felt like they had 7 guys on the court in the way that they were disrupting and attacking everything that was going on. And the Raptors just could not execute basic things. I think there's something that, I mean, in this game, you just need like a lot of offensive toughness, especially the way OKC want to guard. And that's like the toughness to be able to like, keep your dribble alive, or like, don't rush when the other team's actively trying to rush you or being physical against you, being able to hold your ground, being able to still make the right passes, but maybe make them with a little bit more focus, a little bit more zip, being a little stronger at the catches, you know what I mean? Like a little more sharper with the timing of the screens. I think what this game really revealed was Raptors just like didn't have that offensive toughness. Like I thought OKC was able to bully the Raptors up and down the court. And of course, like Raptors couldn't guard them in a half court, but they really couldn't guard them in transition, man. In transition, OKC is just a terror. All they have is just athletes up and down the floor. So needless to say, it was not good. Neither one of Scottie or RJ could get their game off. Scottie, I thought, was primarily occupied with taking the long three, and it's a pull-up three. Like he's kind of just there's a difference between like being aggressive and settling for those threes. And I feel like today he was never in a particularly great rhythm, but at the same time, OKC was swarming so hard in the paint that like, can he even get there if he wanted to? Maybe one time he saw him get to the basket in a half court setting. He was able to flip it over his head, and that was a really nice make. But like generally speaking, I just didn't think that there was enough opportunities for him to get downhill. Granted, there were lots of opportunities where he was getting set up and the Raptors couldn't get the ball into him in the post. That's something where it's, again, offensive toughness. Can you execute your plays when you're under pressure from your opponents? And the Raptors tonight fully crumbled, even around Scottie. But I didn't think Scottie, for example, looked like he was at any point composed or in control. Like, okay, like you look at Shai, this guy's in his backyard. This guy's just having like a tea. This guy's just chilling. This guy's dapping Drake at halftime. Like he's just doing whatever he wants. He knows that this is his backyard. He knows that like he's got family and friends in the crowd. And he knows he's so damn good that he can do whatever he wants, get to whatever spot, get to whatever shot, and he's going to take his damn time. Everything is on Shai's time. On Scottie's part, I thought they were rushed. He was really rushed. I thought OKC did a great job of swarming him. And of course, when he shot those long threes, it was like, I mean, even if he made 6 of those, it wouldn't have changed any difference tonight. OKC wouldn't have changed their defense. And honestly, it wouldn't have made the team much better as well. So I think there was an offensive toughness on Scottie's part that needed to be better in this one. Very similar to RJ Barrett, who started this game coming in with huge confidence, averaging over 30 a game. All the discussion was like how good RJ was at home. RJ tonight, 5 of 16. That includes 1 of 7 from 3. Some of those were wide open threes that he missed, which is unfortunate. But like, you saw until the fourth quarter, I think RJ was really, really cold. When he went to the basket, guys were being super physical. I mean, it's Lou Dort guarding RJ Barrett. Like these guys, I mean, they know each other's games inside out, but like, especially in a game like this, where again, the whistle is also pretty loose as well, in the sense that they were letting a lot of bumping and physicality go. I mean, it was just really difficult for RJ to get anything going, and him getting blocked early on in the game and the 3 ball not dropping. It was just like this like confluence of like things that sort of spiraled out of control. Eventually in the fourth quarter, you saw RJ sort of break out a little bit. He knocked down the 1-3 he had for the night. He also was able to throw down a poster dunk in transition. And got a couple other layups and fouls and stuff like that. So he bumped himself to 17 points, which was a tie for a game high, him and Jonathan Mogbo. But like, still, I mean, neither one of Scottie or RJ were able to play their games. And again, that's a huge credit to OKC's defense, right? Like they were able to really lock in and show you again, like why they're a team that is a conference finalist and why the Raptors are obviously a team that is looking to rebuild. It's actually funny seeing Masai come on the broadcast again. Masai joining in the second quarter. This is the second time we've seen Masai join the broadcast live on the broadcast, and the first time it was at the home opener against Cleveland. That was that was quite tough because that game was quite lopsided. And then you got this one here where you see sort of like yeah, once again the Raptors were sort of thoroughly outclassed. So obviously he's not going to face hard questions from the broadcast. That's just kind of like not what the broadcast is setting us for. Plus they play for the same team, literally same employer, same organization. But still, like yeah, Masai's comments are pretty poignant. He's like, we're still very far away, and it's really just about getting enough players in the door. And the faster you get the right players in the door, the faster the rebuild will take. But also at the same time, like I also do agree with the points that Matt and Alva were making on the broadcast, which was like, you know what, like this is a game where you need to sort of keep in the back of your mind. It's a good reminder of like, yes, the Raptors have done well. They've punched above their weight, whatever. Like they've been competitive. But there's also so many levels between this and what sort of like what they're currently feeling. And so it's like, that's okay. You got to be able to respond to that in a positive way. And I think my biggest takeaway today is just Raptors need to be a lot more focused and a lot more disciplined in sort of everything that they do. There is almost like a general looseness, a softness, whatever you want to call it. I'm not trying to characterize it as a bad thing. I'm just trying to like observe it and describe it. Like it's too loose, it's too sloppy. And it was like against a really great aggressive team like this, they're just gonna pick you apart and they're gonna pants you in front of your whole crowd. Because like that's what it looked like when the guys can't even execute basic plays. It's not because it's above them, it's because they don't execute at the intensity and at the sharpness that's required to compete at the highest levels. And that's where the Raptors ultimately want to go. So like obviously they got washed today. They probably won't be there in like many years, but it starts somewhere. And honestly, even for OKC, like they started like, I don't know, 3 years ago, they were still like not, I think 3 years ago, they weren't even in the playoffs, right? Like, so like there's obviously a progression. Now, of course, OKC really got the right players in the door, got a great coach, they got a great culture, they got literally an MVP candidate in Shai. So it does require a lot of blocks, but at the same time, like the team culture started a long time ago. And when you're able to sit and marinate and sort of like keep building and add the right pieces to that culture, this is the result you see. And honestly, like, man, I know this sounds like maybe a lot of people watching this weren't around for this, but like even 6-7 years ago, the Raptors kind of in the same position where like 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020, like this is a team that rolled teams in this exact fashion. Young team coming into your, even on the road, the Raptors would just roll these teams by being super physical, by being able to execute, by making everybody look even better than they are, with the sort of the collective nature of how they play. And yeah, tonight was tonight the Raptors are on the other end. So we are going to take your questions. So leave those in the chat. Producer Jerome Chang will be looking for those as well. Otherwise, though, I think for me, it's just the last thing I want to touch on is just Grady's performance. Again, like I think for him, like maybe the first shift was a little tough, which I think you can maybe expect for a guy coming back into the lineup. But at the same time, like you also once again see the shot making from Gradey. I mean, probably the toughest shot the Raptors made all night was Gradey against a fading shot clock against a really good contest, several feet behind the line, taking and pulling up and shooting over the top and banking in a deep three. Like that type of shot making, the type of shot making where he's fading along the baseline and he's making those, the type of shot making where he's like quick twitch and he's like firing right away. The first three that he made in this game, it was the Raptors were down like 15-6. Okay, so they had to call the first timeout. OKC comes out with full court pressure. They're just fully looking to dominate against the Raptors. Even though they're up 15-6, they come out with a full court press. RJ breaks that full court press, barrels into the lane, kicks it out to Gradey. The contest is right there, though. Even though he broke through a double team, got into the lane, kicked it out, the contest was somehow still right there for OKC. And what required from Gradey was to catch it high, no dip, and just go straight up from the corner. And even that little bit of skill was really, incredible. I mean, like, again, like something like 3-point percentage, right? Everybody has a 3-point percentage number. That's such a flat way of comparing different players. Because honestly, Grady's 3-point percentage, for example, is way lower than Ochai. But Ochai could never make that shot in his current skill set versus Gradey can make that shot. And there is like, an offensive toughness that comes with that. The way Gradey was able to operate and still get his stuff off in this game was really impressive. Now on the defensive end, I thought he got torched a little bit. That's going to continue to happen tonight. You're getting, him and Isaiah Joe probably played each other to a standstill. Honestly, Gradey had 15 points in 23 minutes. Joe had 16 in 21. both kind of made a similar share of their shots, but like there were a couple of moments where I thought he, got a step behind and stuff like that. So, again, like you could do more on that front. Just in general, this was kind of a bloodbath. But I was really happy to see Gradey back in the lineup. I think that, like, again, I know Ajay and Scottie are in a great mode right now, and I know they're going to look for their stuff, but especially if in the half court, like, look for Gradey a little bit. Maybe let the play initiate. Maybe let Gradey come off of 1 or 2 screens, get that option. If he's not open by that point, or if there's not something there for him, then maybe get into your pick and roll package. Maybe then get into sort of like, the rest of what you want to do. Maybe get Gradey back into the play and run like the Spain pick and roll where they have the screener, and then he comes up or cuts around as a shooter and as a kick out option, or to create just some sort of mismatch. But like ultimately, like, yeah, just don't forget about Gradey, because again, like one of the most fun things about this season so far has been that shot making from Gradey. And I thought the first quarter they didn't find him enough. The rest of the game, whatever. But yeah. I mean, damn, like this is just such a lopsided game, man. This is a tough one. So we're gonna take a quick break. We're gonna get to your questions. I appreciate everyone for sticking around here. And yeah, we'll be back after some of these messages from our beloved sponsors.
Hey man.
Hey buddy.
Just recently hit the big 4-0. What about you, bro?
A little more recently 4-0, but we are both in the 40 club.
Let me tell you, man, being an adult really comes with its share of challenges.
Definitely. I think both you and I are homeowners, and I think we're both also dealing with mortgages in life.
Yeah, man. Mortgage rates, choosing the right terms, dealing with paperwork. It can be really overwhelming,
I still don't know how that works.
Well, listen, that's where our friends at Dominion Lending Centers come in, man. They make the whole process simple and stress-free. Whether you're renewing your mortgage, hunting for the best rates, or if you just need advice, they're here to help, bro.
You know what? I am looking for that advice, and I think that's why I'm going to visit www.dominionlending.ca.
Yeah, man. www.dominionlending.ca. Take the guesswork out of your mortgage and step into financial confidence with our friends at Dominion Lending by our side.
There you go. Shouts to Jerome for stepping in and doing that. Shouts to my 2 home-owning podcast co-hosts and producers, man. Shouts to you guys. Okay, let's get to the Tangerine Q&A segment here. It is the Tangerine fan inbox. I want to remind you that Tangerine is the official bank of the Toronto Raptors, foundational partner of WNBA Canada and NBA Canada. And of course, they're not just fans of basketball, they're fans of basketball. They're fans of fans who, after the Raptors get washed by 39 points, are still here hanging out on a live stream, talking to each other, talking to us, and engaging with the stream. I appreciate all of you. This has been, I mean, look, it's one bad loss, honestly. Like, let's be real here. The Raptors will bounce back, even starting the next game. But like, there are fans who are dedicated to the game of basketball. And of course, if you're hearing this, there's no doubting your commitment. Fans like you are at the heart of what makes this game great. So this year, for the Raptors' 30th season, Tangerine is turning the spotlight from the court to the stands and celebrating the way Raptor fans support their team, because this is how we fan. To learn more, visit tangerine.ca/basketball. All right, Jerome, what you got? First one, this is from Nako the Nacho. Okay, if you don't get a viable center back, is trading Jakob even worth it? So I think first and foremost, trading Jakob should only be a thing if a team is wildly overpaying. You know what I mean? And if it's like 2 first-round picks and protections are good or whatever, or like 1 first-round pick and a really good prospect, then you have to really consider it and maybe bite the bullet. But honestly, the reason why you don't trade Jakob unless that happens is I think it cuts against a lot of what the culture and the fabric of what you're trying to build. As soon as you trade Jakob, you're going to be looking to replace Jakob. We've seen a lot of like bad center Raptors basketball, or even centerless Raptors basketball. Just look back at, basically since Mark and Serge left in 2020 until Jakob came in. You don't want to go back to that willingly. And if you do get back to that, that means you need to absolutely get some young bigs in here. I like what Jonathan Mogbo does. Or Shamshay's a couple years away, if he's even there at all. You're going to need better bigs than that to be part of this. And it does hurt a lot of the game if you don't have a good center. So, yeah, I mean, I don't think Jakob's the difference between the Raptors getting washed by 30, but still, I definitely miss Jakob a lot. Hopefully you got over whatever illness you have. Next one from Major Montega. What's the update on Quickly, if anything you can share? So, yeah, I mean, I think the official diagnosis on Quickly is that they're not going to go with the surgical option. They're trying to wait for the partial tear in his in his elbow to heal. Darko did say that he's a ways away in the sense that like he's not going through practice. He's definitely not going through no contact in practice. I think he's really limiting the use of his left arm. I believe that's the one that's injured. In terms of the injury updates that he gave most recently, he talked about sort of Gradey being close and available this week, and obviously he was able to make his return tonight. Kelly and Bruce, they're certainly getting in reconditioning, but I keep seeing those guys get warm up before games, at practices, et cetera, et cetera. So I feel like those guys are probably the next two. If I had to guess, quickly probably doesn't play for. I mean, I don't know, man. I don't think that you'll see him like until maybe the end of December. This is just a pure guess, but like even watching him at practice, he was kind of off by himself, just working on sort of just right-handed stuff, avoiding the left hand. And yeah, I mean, I think there's probably going to be several steps, but I really do miss Quickly though. I think in a game like this, you really needed a little bit more offense from your point guard, somebody to, again, just to have another cool head out there. You saw a lot of like Davion Mitchell tonight. I felt like Davion just wanted to fight Shai all night. Like this guy was just bumping Shai. He's like, I'm gonna use every foul I have on Shai. Like, you know what? I've been there in the sense that like, I've never been like anywhere close to the best player on my team in anything. But I do sometimes think like, okay, maybe I'll try to like really defend and sort of give my all to the team. And when you're playing against a player that's just like way, way better than you, all you have is just that frustration of like, I want to do this, but I can't. And yeah, shouts to Davion. He got a good heart, man. But he was just trying to fight Shai. I'm like, yo, just box him. Just save yourself some time and box him, man. That was tough. Yeah, there you go. Next one from Rodell. Question: watching Open Gym from 2006 season, do you think Scottie needs a Chris Bosh moment and be firm leader in the locker room? So, I mean, first and foremost, like I'm not in the locker room to sort of comment on sort of like what his demeanor is in a locker room setting. I think more than anything else, though, like I wouldn't necessarily point to Chris Bosh as like this like be all end all locker room leader. From what I remember in that time, and of course, is like, I mean, 20 years ago almost now. But when I was watching that team, I never felt like, okay, like Chris was the guy who was like rallying the troops all the time. Now, of course, the moment that they're mentioning here in the Open Gym episode is that there was a moment when Sam Mitchell spoke about it, where after the Raptors got washed to start the season, he came into the locker room and before the coach went in, Chris Bosh was already ripping the whole team and sort of like, telling them to, get on the same page or focus or whatever. I mean, just, your usual. And Sam was like, I'm going to let him do it because like, I want him to sort of grow as a leader. But at the same time, over the bulk of his career in Toronto, I never felt like Chris was like that Kyle Lowry type of personality where he like owned the team and like, really led from the start. If anything else, like, I just didn't think he didn't have that, honestly. I think with Scottie, like what you're seeing this game aside, because this game he was rattled. And I think when your best player's rattled, obviously your whole team's going to follow. But in the previous games, I feel like he's been really embodying the spirit of the team in the sense that like I feel like he wants to be involved in all these things when it's like talking, like being the most communicative guy on the floor in terms of like coordinating who's going to go for the rebound, when to push the ball up, sort of drawing out the play, like calling out the plays. He used to call out a little bit of plays before too. Like I'm not saying that he never orchestrated the offense before, but really directing the traffic and really letting his team know sort of where to be and stuff like that. You see the energy that he gives, you see the excitement that he has, after they win games. Like, I feel like this is the most engaged version of Scottie we've ever had. And I think that it's the first time he's been fully empowered to be the leader of the team. And also the first time where I feel like he's been emotionally mature enough, just overall, like, life-wise, like he's just in the moment. Like, I feel like he's like really in sync with everything with the team. And so I think that's a really good thing. And you got to really grow from that. And of course, like, the confidence of your leader also is going to, or the character of your leader is going to show through, but especially in tough moments. And that's where I don't want Scottie to ever get down. Because the thing is, like, when you make yourself like, when you become so important and like everyone's looking to you, and you're the leader now, you can't be defeated because that's going to wash down on the rest of your team. I mean, this is like completely different analogy, but I was just watching a clip where Mo Salah was talking about how he's like, there's only one thing I've ever learned from Andy Robertson, who's like, like a pretty good player, but like ultimately he's like a role player, right? And Mo Salah is like the star of Liverpool, and he's been doing that for like the last decade. He said the one thing he learned from Robertson was like, you know what, when you miss a chance to score and you have bad body language and you're upset with yourself and you're showing frustration, that shows the rest of the players who aren't stars, oh look, like we're rattled and like this is not good, and it actually washes over the mentality. And now when I watch Salah the last few seasons, whenever he misses a chance, all he does is laugh. And it's not like he's not overdoing it, but he's trying to look at it and approach it with positivity. You know what I mean? And I think that like there's a lesson there for sort of any sort of star player of their team. But yeah, I mean, I honestly think that Scottie is actually super involved and in touch with the team. Today was just tough though. Like it doesn't matter what leadership style, they were just getting washed. Next one from Tina: how do the Clipper fans feel about their team trading Shai? If it was me, I would be pained. Yeah, I mean, honestly, Clipper fans, like, actually, shouts to the Clippers. They're actually pretty decent this year. I think they got destroyed yesterday, but they kind of just no-showed yesterday. In general, they've been super competitive, and Harden and Norm have actually done an amazing job leading that team so far. But yeah, I mean, if you're a Clipper fan, like, come on, man. You draft Shai. You're really lucky to get Shai in the first place. Shai goes to 11th, which is like really low for somebody who ends up becoming as good as he is. It's kind of like the Spurs getting Kawhi at 14, or like, OKC getting, or Milwaukee getting Giannis at 13, I believe. Which, by the way, the Thunder did take Steven Adams, one pick before Giannis. So it's like, whoa, like imagine if OKC also had Giannis. It's fine. But yeah, in any case, like, I think OKC at that moment was like actually a pretty decent team, pretty competitive team. Shai was like a good player within that mix, but certainly that team was like Lou Williams, Montrezl Harrell, Nick Batum, Tobias Harris, and then of course Danilo Gallinari maybe in that stretch too. And then they kind of obviously broke that team apart because they knew that Kawhi wanted to come home and he wanted to bring another star. But it's just like when you fast track the process, sometimes it's like, number one, there's no guarantee that it works. And number two, like it's also way more rewarding when you can build it organically. Like it's got to be so incredibly rewarding as an OKC fan. No, you don't have a title, but like in the last 2 decades, you've been able to watch like Hall of Famers night after night on your home court, no matter what. I mean, you look at the types of players that they've had, and yeah, I mean, as a Clipper fan, you got to be sick. Of course, you also lost all your picks. So, like, it doesn't even matter that the Clippers are doing well this year. Cool. Like, they're going to be struggling for years to come because of how many picks they've given up. But, yeah, I mean, I would be sick if the Raptors – I mean, first of all, I'd be sick if the Raptors ever got Shai. But if the Raptors ever fumbled a player like this in team control, because obviously we did lose Kawhi after the championship, which was already painful enough. But, yeah, I don't know, man. This is an MVP candidate for, like, the next 5 years of his career. He's that good. It's crazy. Look at him, man. It's crazy. So anyway, everyone knows Shai's great. I mean, that's not breaking news here. Next question here. Are we on Bell Internet now? Actually, we are. Big shouts to Bell. I'm gonna run a speed test just for fun, man. Let's run the speed test right now. Let's run the speed test. Let me make sure I'm on the right network here. So I actually got both going on. Yeah, it's pretty smooth, man. I mean, I don't know. Are people in the stream? Just let me know. It's 300 upload, 300 download right now. But you people let me know. Is the actual internet experience from you guys watching this a lot smoother? Also, shouts to Bell. They actually added me on Twitter, or not on Twitter, on Instagram, which is yeah, we're gonna have to talk. We're gonna have to talk. We're gonna have to talk. But so far, in one day into the service, I think it's gone pretty well. So. W's in the chat for Bell apparently, but yeah, this is a tough game, but I'm actually happy that we were all here to at least like enjoy and watch it together. Again, also I didn't remind everybody, but if you are a diehard fan and you're watching this and you're at least somewhat enjoying it, just hit the like on the stream so that maybe in the morning after people are like, Raptors lost by 30, but like let me see what Will and let me see what the audience wanted to say about this. Just drop a like on the stream. All right, it'll help. I mean, it'll help people who want to commiserate the morning after. How about that? So we're going to take another quick break right here. And then when we come back, we'll hand out 3 stars. We'll hand out our awards. And we'll just wrap it up here because let's be honest, man. I mean, this is a 37-point slap.
Yo, what's up, everyone? Black Friday is here, man. And listen, if you've been waiting to grab some hello and welcome merch, now is the time. Will, we've got the brand new Wongstradamus hoodie, plus all your favorite hats and tees that you've seen the three of us wear on the show, at events, that'll have you looking fresh for this holiday season. So whether you're treating yourself, gifting someone who deserves it, we've got you covered. And here's the deal. If you head to nationgear.ca right now, you'll get 15% off everything. And if you spend $200, we'll hook you up with free shipping because we're cool like that. So don't wait around. The deal is only good for 1 week and it ends this Friday, December 6th. Make sure you go to nationgear.ca now. Grab a hoodie, grab a hat, grab a tee, and get holiday ready. And as always, hello and welcome.
The savings. Yeah, love. Honestly, very much enjoy watching Jerome's performance in the commercials. Jerome is a commercial star, bro. We need to put him in all our ads. But I actually did see this one question: is Will jealous that Alex was an open gym episode? Nah, it was actually really funny. I was actually right there behind the scenes when they shot all those. They shot a series of interviews with Alex. But no, man, I'm always like super proud when my boy gets shine like that. Like he absolutely deserves it. He's got more history of being a Raptor fan than I do. I think they really wanted somebody who has done an incredible job of digging into the history of the Raptors. If you don't know, of course, like Alex literally wrote an entire book that basically sent him to therapy in terms of how much it was kind of like killing him in terms of the work. But yeah, prehistoric. It was on the first ever season of the Raptors, the introduction of the Raptors, you know, the history of how it was brought in, all the people and all the efforts that they poured into it. He did like literally hundreds of interviews. And yeah, it was a really, really great book. And I think like for anyone else who wants to learn about that time period, you should get them that book. But more than anything else, like in terms of who actually has a ton of knowledge of Raptors history, like it's Alex Wong. So like big shouts to Alex. And also, man, I've been in open gym a couple times. You know what I mean? I wasn't on this season, but like trust me, I've been on open gym a couple times. But shouts to open gym crew. Actually, that last episode that they put out with the I guess that Chris Bosh, Andrea Bargnani, that era, like I know that era wasn't like particularly successful outside of like basically 2 seasons, let's say the 2 times they went to the playoffs. But like that was actually such a well done episode. I actually went up to Rocky and Greg, you know, 2 of the main people at that open gym today at the arena, just to like chat them up and just like congratulate them. And more than anything else, just thank them. Like as a Raptor fan, I thought that was just really beautifully done. It was great fan service to be able to look back on some of these guys. I mean, we haven't heard from Andrea in so long, and you know, Jorge Garbajosa. These guys are like, for any old Raptor fan, like, you know, these are. Andrea is a little different. Andrea, we used to have arguments for days, man, for like entire forums, entire like comment sections dedicated to arguing, is Andrea good or not. It was like crazy how much it was polarizing the fan base. But like, you know, ultimately somebody that was a huge part of Raptors history, and Jorge Garbajosa, who was only with the Raptors for a short time. Unfortunately, obviously he broke his leg, which was genuinely one of the most traumatic things I've seen in a sporting match. And I just remember hearing his screams, man. Just like, yeah, it was crazy, honestly. And it was actually, the footage was actually shown in open gym as well, including those screams. It actually like was, I didn't need a trigger warning, but damn, it was like, damn, I didn't want to see this again. But hearing from those guys and how warmly they spoke about it, and even just the behind the scenes access, like we're so blessed now to have so much access, so much coverage, you know, whether that's like, I like a variety of podcasts, a variety of YouTube channels, a variety of like internet articles from like, you know, The Athletic to like the newspapers to like, you know, Raptors Republic, like so many people covering and so much social media around it too. You can discuss the game wherever you want. You can watch the game wherever you want. Back then, it was crazy. It was very like, I used to buy the newspaper just to read what Doug said about the Raptors that night. And it was probably 300 words about how like Rasho Nesterovic couldn't guard Shaq. You know what I mean? Like it was tough. It was tough. But getting to get that storytelling perspective and seeing Open Gym go back through that footage was really, really cool. And it was great to hear from Brian Colangelo as well. Again, like these guys aren't like, they're not beloved characters, but they were very, very important characters. And after a really long time, it just felt like seeing a lot of old friends again. So yeah, go check out the last Open Gym episode if you haven't already. It was, especially for fans who went through that era, that was probably the first team I ever loved, was that 06-07 team. You know, Chris Bosh, Jose Calderon, TJ Ford. They got interviews from those guys as well. Anthony Parker, Mo Pete, Rashford Nesterovic, Chris Humphreys, Juan Dixon. You know what I mean? Like that whole era, man. Like it was great to hear from those guys. Bargnani, of course. God damn, like it was just like a blast from the past, and it was really refreshing. So shouts to Open Gym crew. They did an amazing job, and especially this year. I feel like this year they've taken up another level as well. Those behind the scenes of the Vince Carter jersey retirement was also crazy, and they've just done a great job overall. So congrats to Rocky and Greg and their whole crew. So okay, let's get to your 3 stars. That's what I took the break for. 3 stars from tonight's game. Oh, brother. Okay, I'm going to give Gradey the first star. 15 points, made half his threes. Raptors went 11 of 45 from 3. I mean, especially against a team that's going to take away so much of your driving lane. You're just going to need to be able to punish them from 3. Raptors obviously didn't have the firepower to do it. Actually, it was really weird for Darko not to put Jamison Battle in the game earlier, or even put Gradey in the game when they were zoning. Again, like whatever. Like I just thought all of it was a mess, but Jamison Battle went for, I think this guy, I mean, he played with the Raptors 905 this morning. The Raptors did one of those doubleheader things where they actually had they set a attendance record actually with the 905. They had it was like a field trip day. They brought a ton of kids in there. It was just screaming nonstop. But like they actually had Jamison Battle, Jacoby Walter, Jamal Shed, and who else did they bring down there? Am I missing somebody? They basically had their 4 rookies go down there and play with the Raptors 905 this morning. So for a guy like Battle, that was literally a doubleheader for him. So I don't know if that played into his minutes being reduced or if it was just Gradey coming back in the lineup. But like, yeah, Battle I thought actually played really well and just didn't get enough time. So maybe I'll give Battle the second star. And then Mogbo, I think Mogbo should get the second star. Battle can get the third star. Mogbo, I mean, physicality-wise, I thought like he was bumped around a lot. I feel like against a team like OKC was super physical. Like Mogbo, I think he needs to get a little bit stronger. But because you look at one rebound, for example, in this game is not great. At the same time, though, he did take it off the dribble and dunk on Isaiah Hartenstein, which was cool. He had a 3, which was nice. I thought in general, in the chances where the Raptors were able to at least run their offense and get the ball inside, he was able to sort of finish with a decent rate. So shouts to Mogbo, 17 points, 6 of 10 shooting, knocked down a 3, 4 of 6. And then Jamison Battle, your third star, with 6 points, just 2 threes off the bench, but he thought he played well. So Gerald Henderson Award winner, I mean, the whole team, I mean, I'm going to give it to Ajay Mitchell, actually. Ajay, I actually really liked Ajay as an option for the Raptors potentially at the 31st pick. I remember because there was the new draft format this year where they split the first round and second round between 2 days. After the conclusion of the first day of the draft, we actually talked to Sam Vecini over The Athletic, who's their draft specialist, and we talked about the options that the Raptors had potentially at the 31st pick. And one of the guys I really liked and one of the guys he really liked was Ajay Mitchell. He's actually done a pretty decent job for OKC. I know he doesn't play heavy minutes because OKC is obviously so deep, but like he came in today, was just like, he didn't make a single mistake. He was really good defensively, knocked down his shots, 13 points, 3 assists, 3 steals. So for validating my ball knowledge, I'm going to give Ajay Mitchell the Gerald Henderson Award winner. And of course, lastly, your most important guy, tonight's most important guy, is brought to you by Greta. Make sure you check out Greta on 590 King Street West. They're the #1 hangout spot for pregame, during the game, and postgame. Of course, it's a barcade, so when the Raptors get washed like this, you could just pivot and, I mean, you could certainly watch another game. You could certainly order some great food and have some great drinks, but you could also just like, play a couple arcade games and just sort of like let this whole thing be what it is. But yeah, in any case, shouts to Greta Bar, YYZ, right there at King of Portland, 590 King Street West. Tonight's most important guy, man. Who is the most important guy today, man? Most important guy. Honestly, most important guy might be Jakob Poeltl. Shouts to Jakob, man. We were sorely missed. Jakob, get well soon. Get some Robitussin, get some. Honestly, what really works for me when I get a little bit of cold is just like get a ginger tea. Slice up some ginger, put a couple of teaspoons of brown sugar in there. Maybe sprinkle in a bit of lemon, but really you don't even need it. Just boil a bunch of ginger and just put some brown sugar in it. It clears up your whole system. It makes you feel a lot warmer. And I hope you feel a lot better. This team misses you a lot. So big shouts to Big Yak. Raptors lose tonight. They'll get a chance to bounce back this weekend when they take on the Dallas Mavericks. Their homestand continues. Raptors have a really tough schedule. Like I love Keeks. I love Keeks in general, but every time she says, fun stat, it's never a fun fact when she says fun fact. But I think the fun fact that she put out was basically until the middle of January, the Raptors have like the hardest schedule in the league. I think their opposing team's record in terms of, just their cumulative record, I think is like 57% win percentage. So you're going to see a lot more tougher teams coming up here, especially coming to Scotiabank Arena. But man, it's you know what? Actually, I'm gonna give a bonus. Most important guy. This is a retroact. I'm gonna give it to Jordan Hayles, who is Mr. Stixx on Twitter. Long time Raptors Twitter guy. I mean, like he was back around to the hashtag RTZ. This guy's probably hashtagging RTZ about Solomon Alabi and Ed Davis and about I don't even know, man. Lytton Johnson III. You know what I mean? This guy was hashtag RTZ. Linus Kleza might not be it as a small forward for the future. And I don't know how he got courtside tickets to a premium game like this, but it was much deserved because I was looking at the whole entire courtside row. Nobody had on a jersey. Everybody had on some cool clothes, had a jacket on, whatever. One guy had the jacket off and a jersey on. It was Mr. Stixx standing up courtside. If you watch back, you can actually see it. It's the purple. It's not the purple. It's the City Edition jersey, the Vince Carter through the legs, and it's an RJ Barrett jersey. And I kept seeing Jordan courtside standing up. That's what we need more of, is actual diehard Raptor fans sitting courtside and showing the most support to the team. So big shouts to Mr. Stixx. You're actually going to get the real most important guy here. But yeah, that's it for the pod. Thanks everyone for listening. Of course, if you enjoyed this, hit the like on the stream on your way out. And of course, better days hopefully are ahead. I do want to see the Raptors bounce back. I don't think it'll be this bad against Dallas when they play them this weekend. But at the same time, it's still going to be Luka. It's still going to be Kyrie. They're still on a pretty good streak right now. So it'll be a tough game, but I don't think it'll be nearly this bad. So flush it, get rid of this, go to practice tomorrow, get better, and just remind yourself that there can be a really good reward if you rebuild. And OKC is the shining model of that. So thanks everyone for listening. This has been the Home Welcome Podcast presented by Betway, and we'll see you Saturday.